So again, thank you. Welcome for coming. We want to thank Fannie Mae for sponsoring this and also supporting the South Dakota Native Homeownership Coalition, and just also thank the Home Buyer Readiness Committee and being engaged in identifying these topics, because these are topics that you all wanted to help with the clients that you're serving and making your trainings more engaging and interactive. And again, thank you, Nori, who's also a partner of Seven Sisters, for pulling this together. We're all looking forward to learning from you. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce and pass the baton to Nori.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. I guess it depends on where in the world you are, which I think is mostly South Dakota, right? So heading into lunch. But thank you so much for having me. And I'm looking forward to sharing some things about virtual tools. And I know this is kind of an extension of some of the other virtual tool webinars that you've had. So, and at any point, please feel free, put it in the chat, ask me a question. We're a small group today, so hopefully we can be interactive and learn from each other, because I know you all are out there trying things. So really quickly about me, Vicki already said I'm a Seven Sisters partner. I'm a Northern Arapaho and Saponi descendant. And the other part of my world is that I'm an associate professor at James Madison University in the Learning Technology Department. So I spend a lot of time thinking about, virtual tools and how to use them and what works and what doesn't. But I will also tell you part of that comes from, experimentation and failure. Trying things, and sometimes they work and, sometimes they don't. So I've got about 9 years of experience teaching online. And, during that time, some of you using the tools was born out of necessity. Because if you're online for 3 hours or 4 hours and you're trying to engage people, you don't want to be boring and you don't want them to be bored. And so it kind of drew me to thinking about, are there other ways to do this that might be more interesting? And so other parts of my consulting world are really around, Native community economic development and asset building and organizational development. So, and I will tell you all right now, I'm going to be sharing quite a few tools today. So I hope everybody has their phone. I didn't think that would be too much of a stretch, considering, we live in a world where we always have our phones connected to us. So we're going to need them today. But really today's objectives, I want to set the stage for how do you create a positive, fun virtual classroom. I want to explore some of the additional tools that you can use in your online session. Truthfully, there are so many tools out there. So some of it is exploration. I want to think about ways you might use some of those tools to increase engagement. And then also part of using virtual tools is also about creativity, your own creativity as an instructor, and also sometimes putting yourself in the shoes of the people who you're teaching. How are they going to react to this? I also want to lower some of your anxiety about using virtual tools. Oftentimes people will say, I just want to do it the way I've done it because I know how to do it that way. And the truth of the matter is you're already experts in teaching your home buyer education topics. So now it's just adding in, sprinkling in these little things that can make it, even more interactive. And at the end, I hope you really walk away with something you think, I could use that. So I'm going to be showing you about 5 different tools. And if there's one that you think, you might want to explore and you feel, curious about exploring, I think that would be a good outcome for today. So again, questions in the chat between Vicki and I, we will, answer any questions that you have, and don't be afraid to jump in. All right. So what I want to do before we go any further is I want to do a brief grounding exercise. And to do that, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to turn off your camera. And I'm also going to turn off my camera, just because sometimes, having people look at you while you're doing this is a little awkward. So we'll just turn off our cameras and just kind of focus on being here together in this moment. So we live in a world that is full of distractions. So grounding is really about setting our intention for this time together and bringing ourselves fully into our learning space. So considering we've got all of these distractions and multitasking, For the next hour, so that we can really have some mindful learning, I want us to take some time just to breathe together. And truthfully, it's almost like taking a little vacation from the busyness of our lives. So to do that, first I want you to get your feet on the floor and get yourself into a comfortable position. Wiggle your toes, rock around in your chair a little bit so you're finding your most comfortable position. You can rotate your neck, rotate your shoulders, maybe stretch a little bit. And I'm going to ask you to place your hand on your stomach. Because many of us, when we breathe, we don't fully breathe into our stomachs. And some of this really good kind of relaxation comes from this very kind of deep, mindful breathing. So we're going to do this for about 2 minutes. And I want you to focus on breathing in deeply through your nose and letting it out slowly. So think, breathe deeply in and out slow. So we're going to do this for about 2 minutes. And midway, I'm just going to remind you just to come back to your breath and the breathing. And some people, myself, when I first started doing this, I thought, if I have thoughts and I wasn't doing this correctly, thoughts are natural. And the idea is just, have your thought and then let it go. So let's take about 2 minutes, hand on your stomach, breathing in deeply, holding, letting out nice and slow. And I'm going to exaggerate my breathing a little bit so you can hear me. Breathing in nice and deep so your hand is moving. And letting that breath out nice and slow. Nice deep breath in. Breathing out nice and slow. Probably last breath. In deeply and out slowly. So, and the science behind breathing mindfully and grounding is that this really activates our parasympathetic nervous system, and it should help us all to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more grounded and ready to learn. So let's all come back to normal awareness and dig into the meat of our presentation. So in the chat, are other people familiar with grounding exercises? I know some people surely are. Okay, great. It sounds like we've got some people who've experienced that, and for some people it might be new. So hopefully that was a okay experience, and hopefully now you felt like you've gotten a very mini 2-minute vacation. So the next thing I'd like to do is check in. So I think many of you know each other, but let's do a quick temperature check. Get you grounded that. All right, so in the chat, what we've got is we'd love to hear your name, your organization, where you're calling from today. And by that, I mean, are you in your office, your home office? And then on our screen, we've got our doggy temperature check. So we'll see, you're a dog or cat person, and then check in using whichever number you're feeling today. And you'll also see in the chat that we've got a list. Otherwise, we do this and ask people to introduce themselves. And in this online space, we're also polite with each other. Sometimes we don't know where to go. So if you don't mind, Elaine, would you mind starting us off with a quick introduction using our check-in points?
Good morning. My name is Elaine Matota Mahecha, and I am with the Oglala Tribe Partnership for Housing. And I'm missing a question. Okay, where we're from. I'm a cat person. And I'm at work. I'm checking in from my office, and I'm number one after that relaxation.
Wonderful. That's exactly what we like to hear. Thank you, Elaine.
Yep.
Dustin, how are you?
I am well. I'm so grounded now that I couldn't hit the mute button.
You relaxed over there.
But anyway, so I'm calling from Denver. I'm with Enterprise Community Partners, and I am definitely a dog person. Ixnay to the cats, and I am doing number one today. We had my morning has been awesome, and thank you for bringing me back to my center with that grounding exercise. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, Dustin. I'm glad it was helpful. Nicole, are you ready to check in?
Yes, hi, my name is Nicole. I work for South Dakota Housing as their Hero Coordinator. I am calling from my home office today, and I am a dog person, which you might hear him bark because he's super needy at home right now. And I am a number one.
Fantastic. We've got all these mellow people today. This is great. Good to meet you, Nicole. Haley, how are you this afternoon?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine. I am okay. I'm Haley Collier, and I'm calling from the Mazuska. I am our client service coordinator, and I'm actually calling from our office in Pine Ridge. And
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Are
I'm
you
a
dogs
dog
or
person.
cats? Dog person.
Yeah, I actually have a dog, a pit bull, just a baby too. Biggest
Lots of
baby
fun.
ever.
So how are you checking in today using our dogs here?
I have to say number two just because I'm tired and it's a Wednesday.
No worries. It's wonderful to meet you, Haley. Roger, can you check in for us?
Good morning here in Sioux Falls. I am Roger Jacobs with the HUD office out of Sioux Falls, and I am in my home office or extra bedroom or whatever we want to call it, in my little corner, or as I call it, my little hole. And we have a little bit of everything in our house: dogs, cats, lizard, and a turtle. And I would be a number 3 today on the dog temperature check.
Wonderful. It's great to meet you, Roger. All right, Joanna, how are you doing?
Off mute. There I am. I'm off mute. Yay! Hi guys, it's Joanna. I'm calling from sunny South Florida in my home office / living room. And I am neither a dog nor cat person. Don't throw tomatoes. I'm just not an animal person. But on our doggy temperature check, I'd have to say I'm a number 3.
Ooh, awesome. Everybody's checking in positively today. Fantastic. Vicki, I know you're not on here, but you want to check in?
Sure. Good morning out everybody. Vicki Oldman with Seven Sisters Community Development Group, calling in from Santa Fe, not from my home. So it's my, I don't know, resort office. And I love it here being in Santa Fe. I am actually both a cat and dog person. So we have both cat and dog. We have we have 2 Siamese. They're called Ramen and Noodle, and our dog Charlie. And how am I checking in today? Definitely a 3. Perky and ready to learn. So thank you, Nori.
Fantastic. And I am calling in from Virginia today. I'm in my home office, and I am both a dog and cat person. Fortunately, unfortunately, sometimes. So you might also hear them. And today I'm also checking in as a 3 because I'm ready to share. All right. So in your previous session, I know you also had a webinar with Marie Bonville on training and presentation delivery. And she talked about, some of the roles in online learning. She talked about some of just the logistics of doing kind of online learning, using strong visuals, how to set up your camera. So she really got into some of the great logistics that maybe we don't always think about. She also showed you some tools. She used video in her presentation. She broke you into breakout rooms. She also showed you one of my favorite tools, which is Canva. And you also used a Jamboard. So my hope is to kind of extend that conversation and show you some other tools. So, and to use these, you will need your phone. So why use virtual tools? So one of the reasons we use these tools is we all learn in multiple ways. And they used to say, people are either, kinetic or audio or visual, but truthfully, we like to learn in lots of ways, and we can take in media in multiple forms through our senses. So when you use the tools, it's kind of like doing an activity in class, like face-to-face, but it also helps you meet some of the multiple ways that we learn and helps us retain information. It's also said that in research, I'm a researcher, that it increases motivation and makes people more curious about the content. So that's another reason that it's not kind of just bells and whistles. There are some real kind of practical things that it helps our learners learn better. They say it can also decrease stress. And I'm going to show you one tool that's a game. And truthfully, usually when we're playing a game, unless you're like super hyper competitive, it's fun. It's not a stressful thing, but you can also use it in very practical ways to, figure out if people are learning what you want them to learn. It also hopefully helps reduce some of the Zoom fatigue that we are all experiencing. We are online more now than ever. That's not going to change. I think that we're just going to be doing a bit more of that. So we have to figure out how to engage people. So the things I'm going to show you today, I'm going to focus on music. That music is one of the ways that we can help increase engagement, kind of mix things up. Menti, which I know some of you've used, and I'm going to be using some of the tools that maybe you have seen them, maybe you haven't. But really, it's one more way that you can engage people. And truthfully, some of these tools, you can also use them face-to-face, like Menti. We're going to use Kahoot, which, for those of you that love trivia and game night, this is for you. We'll try that out briefly. I'm also going to show you Powtoon. And Powtoon is probably the most time-intensive tool, but I will tell you kind of the benefit of using it. And then lastly, one of my other tools is Adobe Spark. And I love tools that pull double duty that I can use for lots of things. And some of that's because when I have a million different tools I'm using, I can't always remember all the passwords. So Adobe Spark is one of those tools where you can do lots of things in it. So the first thing I want to talk about a little bit is music. And so for some of you, how many of you, when you work out, you play music? Just quick show of hands. Clean your house, right? So sometimes we want a playlist for our lives, and we could do a bit of the same thing in our classes. So I'm going to quickly switch my screen here. All right. So I just want you to think a little bit about how you might use music in your training. So I'm going to put an example, and I want you to just put in the chat. So what does this song kind of bring to light for you? What does it make you feel? Or what does it make you want to do? So considering everybody was feeling so mellow, we'll start on the mellow side first. So just in the chat. So what is this What does this make you want to do? Reflective. That's right. We want to be mellow. We want to relax, right? So if we want that from our participants, then maybe we want to put something like that on for them. We could use it during a meditation, maybe during a reflective journaling exercise. You might use something like this, okay? So now let's see what you want to do when you hear this. Let's roll.
I'm gonna fight 'em all.
Oh, Dustin.
7 Nation Army.
Oh boy, got to keep it with the comedy. So when I use something like that with in a training or with working with people, maybe I'm trying to spur a little competition, or we're going to play a little game, or maybe we're going to have a scavenger hunt or something like that. So I might use music that sounds a little bit more like that. Let's try one more.
I'm going home, going home. North Carolina is crying in my soul. Creator, I'm reaching out to you. Tell
So again, super soulful, but I chose this one because I thought about home. And maybe I want to have my participants think about, so what is the meaning of home for you and your family, right? So to really kind of have some of these conversations that are about like, what are the words of this and how do they resonate with you? So when I see a question in the chat, so is there a way to play music in the background while you are sharing slides or another screen? So yes, you can absolutely share your music in the background. So in Zoom, when you say, go to share, it will ask you if you want to share your music. If you put that on, you can also simultaneously share a PowerPoint. And for all of these things, I would say practice. One of my best practice partners is my teenager because he's brutally honest. He's 15 and he has no issue with saying, I don't think that works, or that's, kind of dumb or whatever. So find a practice partner who is brutally honest and try some of these things out. All right. So some of the other ways you might do this, you can use it as an icebreaker using music, like what's your theme song, and have people share, or you could make a shared Spotify playlist. And then you can use that throughout your sessions together, maybe, and choose someone's theme song every class. So one of the next tools I'd like to use is Mentimeter, and some of you may have experienced this. So when I pull up the screen, what you're going to see is you go to menti.com. And then I'm going to give you a code. So give me one quick second. Let's get this switched over. So on your phone, you're going to www.menti.com. And we're going to be using the code 95372208. I'll put it in the chat too. 95372208. I'll give everybody a second to join us. All right, someone's already in here. Is anybody having difficulty getting in to Mentimeter? We're already getting a range of responses. Thanks for that, Vicki. So, and Mentimeter can be used in many different ways. You can use it before a session if you want to gauge your participants' interest. You can use it during a session, maybe as a quick knowledge check. You can also use it as a midway point in your courses, just so that you can pivot if something is not going well for participants. And you can also use it for evaluation purposes. So I like Menti because it's visual. It's one more way that we can engage people. And so what we have here is one type of Menti question, but there are multiple others that you can use. So let's try another one. So have you used any of the following virtual tools in your teaching? Let's just see what we're experimenting with in our classes. Great. Kahoot, yes, every people are using it. We're going to play with it today a little bit. Padlet, Padlet's great for kind of bringing together or kind of lots of resources in a visual way. Canva, as I said, yeah, Canva is one of my favorite tools because it really pulls double duty. Jamboard, we're also going to use that today. Lots of people are using music. YouTube video editor, that's a great one too. Thinking about some of those YouTube video clips, they're a little bit too long and we think, oh, we just want this small sliver. Using YouTube video editor, you can do it, right? And Prezi is another great one. Prezi is always interesting because depending on who your audience is, it's one way to be really dynamic and kind of circular. And I also use it. You have to watch the zooming a little bit sometimes because every once in a while you can make someone feel a little bit sick, which I've also probably done. So lessons learned. So let's try another question. So what has been your greatest success teaching your courses online? Great. So really preparing ahead of time. Yes, that's one of the differences with teaching kind of online versus face-to-face. Face-to-face, I think you have more kind of, you can be a little bit more organic, but when you're teaching online, it's a little bit harder to be organic. So the practice and prep and is really important. Great, yeah, building a sense of community. And we have to go out of our way online. We really have to kind of be intentional. That's one of our goals and build in ways to do it. Absolutely. More people can attend our sessions now, right? We can invite more people into our space. And as long as we know that they're coming, we can prepare for them. Awesome. Gaining experience of teaching online, stepping out of my comfort zone for sure. And I think for a lot of people, teaching online is not natural, but people have really kind of stepped in, used their expertise, and have been pretty creative and innovative in their approach to it. Fantastic. And this shows you one more question type that you can use in Menti so that you can see your response, but also the responses of others and giving people an opportunity. Whenever we do check boxes, we kind of limit people's responses, right? So this is a way for people to really kind of say what they feel and have their voices heard. So in 3 ways, what have been your pain points teaching virtually? What have been your pain points? Great. Engagement, participation, distractions, for sure. Takes time to prep, getting used to Zoom, for sure. When people aren't participating, that can be kind of, it can be disheartening, or you feel like you're talking to an empty room. Internet connectivity, for sure. And we know some of our clients don't have internet access or have, not great internet access. So it can disrupt the learning experience, the dead space, right? Awkward pause if everybody's looking at you and it's quiet and no one is speaking. Getting the timing down, for sure. Zoom fatigue, people who are super quiet. But I will say with some of those super quiet people using some of the tools, it gives them one more way to interact. It doesn't really force them to be verbal, right? And some of that's about people's different learning preferences. And then in terms of what we're doing here with Menti, again, it's taking your responses. If there are responses that are coming up multiple times, like distractions and engagement, so those are bigger on the screen. So those are clearly, there's some repetition that more than one person is saying that, right? So it kind of gives you a sense of what issues are bubbling to the top. All right. So thank you for that. All right. We are switching tools. So with a quick show of hands, do I have any trivia people? Any people who have game night or love game night? No gamers? Okay. So not me. So some in my family definitely love, games and trivia and the competition of it all. And usually we need prizes to really be engaged. But so nice. So Kahoot, one of the things that is helpful about Kahoot is I think it can lower people's kind of maybe not wanting to participate, because you can do this in certain ways. So today we're going to do it based on one person, one response. But you can also break people into teams in Zoom breakout rooms where one person is responding for the team. So you can kind of create some of this team competition feel, but it also takes some of the burden of like, I have to know the answer, and knowing the answer, people are going to know if I got it wrong. So we're going to very briefly do a couple of Kahoot questions. And I believe with a quick show of hands, how many people have used it? Okay. We've got a couple of people who've used it, so we'll just do a couple of questions. And again, you'll need your phone. All right.
I don't see anything on the screen yet. There you go. Okay.
Yep, this took me a second. Whenever I have, multiple screens, it's got a little teeny lag. So what I'd like you to do now is go to www.kahoot.it. And we're going to enter the game pin. And the game pin for this game is 608-8755. Great, I already see Nicole's in there. Let's ask her to put in a nickname. Perfect. I think we're in. So what I created is a quick technology quiz. And again, there's really no winners or no losers. But again, it's more about demonstrating how the tool works and kind of getting you could get the juices flowing about how you might use it with your learners. All right, World Wide Web, absolutely. And again, these are not meant to break anybody's brain today, just for a little demonstration of how it works. All right, so Haley was fast, right? Nicole is almost as fast. So we'll see where we end up here at the end. This is about being correct and being fast. All right. It was introduced in it was not introduced in 1995, excuse me. Noodles, getting up there. That's gotta be Mickey. Which of these is not a telephone? The iPod, exactly. Well, Vicky's not playing around, hey. So, and this one is true, 92% of the money's world is digital. I just learned that too, it's pretty interesting. All right, Queen E went to the, got our third, and then Nicole. And Noodles came to win today. All right. So, and again, this is just an example of a tool that you might use with participants, either online or face-to-face. Joanna wants a recount. Okay. So, and again, we're doing a lot of tools today, but it's about, could I use this? Have I seen this before? And some of them you have, and maybe some of them you haven't. So the next one I want to show you is Powtoon. So in Powtoon allows you to create your own content. I don't know how many of you ever feel like you're having trouble finding content that really matches what you want your learners to be able to do. Maybe you want to talk about, the credit process and alternate forms of credit or something, and there's not something out there that really matches that, or that's unique to your community, or maybe the images don't represent your community or even what people look like. So this is when you can, it may take some time to create a Powtoon, but you can use it over and over and over. So Vicki pushed me, she said, how long did it take you to make this? And I will say for a 1-minute video, it probably took me about an hour and a half, but Powtoon has lots of paid options that they would like to try to sell you, and I was trying to keep them to the unpaid options. So truthfully, if you can invest a little bit of time up front, then you have something that you can keep using. So I'm going to show you this. All right, so that was just a little quick video. And so that's something, if you take the time and you create something upfront, again, it's not wasted time. If you need to have customized content, you can keep using it. All right. And I'm going to show you one of my other favorite tools, which is Adobe Spark. And Adobe Spark is helpful because you can create web pages with Spark. You can create social media posts. Really, it's pretty endless and it's very easy to use. It's also free. So any of you that have ever used Adobe products, they very rarely have anything that is for free, but this is one of them. So again, you can do videos if you want to do a quick, digital story where you can put images and then you want to do a voiceover. You can do this truthfully in maybe 10 to 15 minutes, right? If you're super social media savvy and you've got Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest, you can do that with this tool and create some really pretty beautiful things. So for the purposes of today, I was just playing around with a social media post. And just wanted to show you kind of how easy it is to customize some of these things. So I chose just an example, Cheyenne River Housing Authority, and this is for a brown bag learning experience. So I can change the image here. And so the nice thing about the image is they give you lots of free opportunities, but that are all Creative Commons use, so you can use them without having to worry about attribution. But then you can also upload your own images. So if I want to quickly switch this out, I'll just go to replace. And let's see if I can find, like, I don't know, my dream home or something here. Whoops, it plopped it right there. I want to replace this one. So I can quickly change the image to something else. If I want to change this background so that it matches my logo and colors, I can go here and choose any colors that match what I would like them to, right? Or create my own. So we can do that. And then changing the content, also just typing in new content, and it's quick and easy to do. So this is another great tool. If you want to have some really beautiful polished social media or invitations, you want to be able to bring people to your classes and kind of draw them in. You want to send them reminders. You want to maybe do a success story, like a client success story on social media. So there's so many different ways that you can use something like this. So, and I'm actually going to stop there because I have one more activity that I want us to do, and I don't want to run out of time. So one of the last things I would like us to do, give me one quick second. So before we do that, one of the things I often hear is that people feel overwhelmed. So you have all of these tool opportunities, there are pages of them, and new pop up every day. So I think about, what would my community like? What are they going to be open to? Maybe what's not going to work. If I'm doing something with, elders, I'm probably not going to use every technology tool there is. I'm going to remember that I need a little bit more upfront time to teach people. I also recommend, finding a couple of good tools that, do this double duty, and then using them. Get more confident, practice with them. Again, practice with your friends, practice on your friends, practice on your family, and practice on your kids. They're great for honest, brutal feedback. Also remembering, most tools are free to a point. So almost all of these tools, once you get a little bit more savvy or you really want to do some more customization, some of them might ask that you start to pay. So that's why I think it's good to use a few tools, get good with those, and then figure out where and if you want to invest. So with our last bit of time, what I want to do is have us do a breakout. And so Vicki is going to help put us in breakout rooms randomly. And we're going to look at Kahoot, Powtoon, Adobe Spark, and Menti. And so in the Jamboard, you'll see a guide sheet to kind of help you think about, like, would I use this tool? Is it helpful? So can I see myself using this tool? Yes or no? What would some of the benefits be? How might I use it? And then what would you need to make this actually happen to implement using this tool? So in the chat, here is a link to our Jamboard. And then Vicki, actually I can do it too.
I already have it.
Oh, you're way ahead of me. So Vicki, if you want to do that, and then, yes.
Okay. Just don't accept it, Nori. All right, folks, I'm putting in 2 breadcrumbs.
Zoom room with the Jamboard, but really quickly, as you were having your discussions, was there anything that you thought to yourself, like, I want to try that? Or it could also be the opposite. I am definitely not trying that. Any reactions from the tools?
Dustin, you gonna speak for us?
You just spoke up. Go ahead.
We were all in our session and we're like, what are we supposed to talk about? So we talked about the weather.
Oh no.
Denver. Yeah.
So thinking about, no worries. So thinking about the tools that you saw, Elaine, is there anything that you think, you're a little curious about, or?
I've had experience with the Jamboard, and I haven't tried it with the class, but I'm going to. My next class, I've tried Kahoots, and then so I've seen the other things, other ideas that you posted, and I'd like to explore those too. So just to give them a variety, just to keep them interested, and keep them keep the communication. I think I like interaction. I learn best when there's interaction. So I try to do that as much as I can. But if I don't, then you lose them, and then and then after that, it's just like all downhill. So I try not to, I keep that from happening.
Yeah, I've definitely been there. I will say it can be challenging when you use a bunch of tools, kind of switching and giving people enough time, because some people need a little bit more support to be able to use the tool. So anything you can maybe do up front, like sending a tutorial or something, can also be really helpful. Any other quick thoughts about maybe something you're curious about before we close out?
Nori, in our group, 2 things. Haley was like, oh yeah, I did that in high school. I used Kahoot. Was it Kahoot, Haley, that you used in high school? Yeah. She used it in high school. So I was like, okay, so she's ready to go. The other thing that nobody had ever used Adobe Spark. So everyone was really excited to try that, Adobe Spark. And then I shared, and the ladies agreed, well, they hadn't never used Powtoon. I've looked at it before and I was really overwhelmed by it. But when I saw how cool your video was, I was like, okay, I really want to do this. So it inspired me to go back and use it again.
Well, and thinking about
look at Roger's comment.
Perfect. An electric typewriter when I was in high school. And Kahoot, I mean, some of these tools, I think they were born in K-12, right? And then we're using them for adults, right? So there's a lot of kind of, my son will say like, I used that in school today, or Nearpod, or things like that. And so I'm like, well, can we use it? Many cases, I think we can. So again, use those kids and, mine what they know. They're a little bit ahead of us. So thanks again to the Home Buyers Readiness Committee for having me today. I love sharing these tools and also hearing that some of you are using them, and also hopefully your curiosity is a little bit piqued about digging in a little bit more. So I'll hand it over to you, Vic.
All right, let's give Nori a round of applause. Yes, thank you so much, Nori. I learned so much. We all did. And the challenge is to you all to practice the tool. So thank you. Have a wonderful day. Be well, be safe. We'll see you all soon.
Goodbye, everyone.